In this video, I'm going to walk you through an operational process flow diagram, which is also referred to as an OV5B in DODAF and also an activity diagram in SysML. And this particular one is fairly complex, but it describes one way of looking at how you would use the system model for the mission integration process. And so we have here four participants, four operational performers, and they're allocated to these swim lanes, as we call them: the payload system program office, the systems engineering and integration lead, the launch service provider, those companies that provide launch vehicles for space missions, and then finally the Space and Missile Command for the U.S. Air Force, the entity within the Air Force that's responsible for launching these missions, these satellites. So the first step would be within the SE&I lead, generate a new mission branch from the baseline model. This is our system model, and because we have versioning control, we can generate branches from that for a specific mission. And so the next step really is uploading data for each particular mission. The system program office for the payloader who wants to go up on that mission is going to upload data related to the payload for interfacing with the launch vehicle. The launch service provider is going to upload their proposed launch vehicle specifications and the data. So this whole integration process begins with the uploading of the data. So the first piece of the analysis, they come together here at this join node, and then the analysis is initiated. If it cannot be done within the system model software, the Cameo system modeler, and it requires external analysis, say exporting to the model center, Phoenix Integration's model center platform or environment, for maybe using another resource such as STK or ANSYS or something like that, then it's exported to that and receive the results back in. If it doesn't require that external analysis, then the analysis is performed, the model is updated with the analysis results, and then this iterates if additional analysis is needed back through this cycle until no more additional analysis is needed. At that point, we can send the results of this analysis, say it's for acoustics or vibration or whatever it is, to the payload program system office, to the launch service provider, to all of the stakeholders, to the government. Then what happens is you've got potential queries here on the part of the payload system program office and the launch service provider. So what this little rake symbol means is that there is another activity diagram at a tier 2 level beneath this. So we'll double click on that and open up what is inside that. So this is the addressing queries section. So if for example, the payload system program office has questions, then they would send a query. The query would be received by the SE&I lead, who would then coordinate with SMC, and the SMC in turn would coordinate with SE&I lead. Then in parallel, SE&I lead would query or interrogate the model to address this question, same with the government. And then at this join node, the response to the query is generated, and then the query response is received by the payload system program office. If additional queries are necessary, then this indicates that we go back up tier to control flow A, and the cycle iterates until there are no more additional queries, and then we would go back to or we would exit this activity diagram. That the same system or the same flow occurs on the launch provider side, only the difference is the query is coming from the launch service provider. So now that we're back here and the queries are addressed, we can approve the mission go-ahead. If that takes place, then the SE&I lead creates and publishes mission-related documents, updates them, which are then the artifacts are added to the mission documentation. If the mission is complete, if that's not true, then we circle back to this control flow to um, point C, which brings us back to the analysis cycle again, and we go through this whole iterative process until all the questions are satisfied, all the analysis is done, um, and if that mission is complete, which means that it's successfully launched, then we can baseline the model as required and our process ends. So now what I want to do is to go through and actually execute this so that you can see how this process works. So I'm going to right click and do a simulation. And what I'm going to do is take this off of the screen and sort of have it float off to the side so it won't interrupt what we're trying to do. And I'm going to take the simulation speed and run it a little bit slower. So then we're going to start. So you can see this is executing as the colored elements get colored. So the first question is, does this require external analysis? We're going to say that it doesn't. We're going to ask if additional analysis is needed. We'll say yes, so it cycles back up. Requires external analysis. We're going to say this time it does. We're back to additional analysis needed, and we're going to say no. So now we're going to send the results. So you can see the results are sent to SMC, results are sent to the program office, results are sent to the LSP. So now the query process begins. And so now you have asking questions from the launch service provider. So we'll say that they have questions, and we'll say the system program office has questions. So you can see that both of these activity diagrams are executing in parallel. That's why they jump between each other. So now we've gotten to, do we have additional queries from the LSP and from the SPO? So I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say the LSP does have additional queries. So I'm going to say yes. So let's see, does the LSP have questions? Yes. So it's going to go through, and you'll notice that we're only on the LSP side, which means that the payload system program office's questions have been answered. So because this is happening in parallel, we have to wait till all the questions are answered before moving on to the next step in the process. So we're going to say that there are no additional queries. So now we're back out to the main process. We approve the mission go-ahead. The mission documents are created. Is the mission complete? We'll say no, which takes us back up to C, and we're going to say that we've done additional analysis, so no more additional analysis is needed. When it goes to sending the updated results, we're going to see if we have any additional questions from the stakeholders. So it's going to go down to the decision note on questions. No, no, so no questions. No additional questions from either of them? No. So it's going to go back out to approve mission go ahead, and down to our mission complete question, and we're going to say yes, the mission is complete, and the activity flow ends.